Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, April 3rd, 2018. It's a really rainy morning out there. Matter of fact, there's some thunderstorms and thunder boomers out there this morning. A downpour if you're here in Logan County in Ohio. So hopefully you're taking your umbrellas and your boots today. It is really warm, though. It's supposed to be, I think, about 70. So what a great spring morning. Hey, I want to just dig in where we left off yesterday in Isaiah 43. And it talks about where God has summoned you by your name, and that he has redeemed you for himself. So many of us are discouraged and think, God, what is my plan? What is the purpose for my life? And God says, you know what? I have called you to be for me. I have called you for myself, and it's something that I have chosen you specifically to be. A lot of times we feel left out. We feel like we don't belong, and God says, you belong with me. So I just want to pick back up in Isaiah 43. That's in the Old Testament. And if you have your iPad phone or just get a chance today to read it, check it out. It says, fear not, for I have redeemed you. And in case you missed yesterday, a little Bible trivia was that there are 365 fear nots in the Bible. That's for every day of the year. So in case you're in a fearful state right now, you're fearing your future, you're fearing what's to come, you're fearing something in your finances, can I just encourage you today to fear not, because God is with you and that you're his. He summons you to take care of you. You're his child, and he wants to be there for you. But it says today, what I want to pick back up on, when you have passed through the waters, I will be with you. When you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. And when you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. That's the one I really want to hit on today. So many of you may remember, like in Sunday school class years ago, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that were thrown into the fiery furnace. And the king said, turn up the fire 7 times hotter. How many of you may feel right now that you're in a furnace of affliction? You're going through something that the heat just continues to intensify. You don't see any rest. You don't see any relief. And you're starting to smell the singeing of your hands and your arms and your hair. You have to remember that God said in the Word of God, it talks about they did not even smell of smoke. And when the men went up to turn up the fire 7 times hotter, those men were killed from the heat. So that goes to tell me that God can put you or allow you to be through some intense fiery furnaces. We talked a little bit yesterday about the refiner's fire and why God will do that. Remember, he's more about your character than he is your comfort. So be sure not to always be resentful and bitter toward God because you're thinking, God, when is it that it's going to let up? I found something in a devotion that I wanted to share with you guys, and it was super about today's devotion. It says, the secret of knowing God's complete sufficiency is in coming to the end of everything in ourselves and our circumstances. Key point there, you have to come to the end of yourself and allow God to work within you. Once we reach this point, we will stop seeking sympathy for our difficult situation or ill treatment, because we will recognize these things as the necessary conditions for blessings. Could your affliction be just on the other side of a blessing? Last week we talked about being on the brink of a blessing. Could it be that you are just on the other side of the door, that a blessing, your condition is going to turn, your circumstances are going to turn? But this purpose right here in the fiery furnace is to teach you something. It is to make you more like Christ. It is to purify your heart and your mind. Could it be that we need to get rid of our own self-pity? So many times we get caught up in that in poor circumstances. And God says, you know what? I don't want you in a pitiful state. I want you to be that more than a conqueror, like we read about in Romans 8:37 that I talk about almost every day, or definitely every week. God says, we will then turn from our circumstances to God, realizing they are evidence of him working in our lives. How many of you have said, God, I wish you would do something really special with my life. I know there's a plan. I know you have something for me. Well, when God starts to work in our lives, so many times we don't like the process. But if we don't allow him to work within us, then he can never get us to where he wants us to be. So many times, that is this passage here in Isaiah 43, that when those waters come up to here, and you just maybe your eyes are sticking out of your nose, and it's like, God, I can't hardly hang on. He's like, listen, those waters are not going to overtake you. In that fiery furnace, just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you may be thrown into the fire of all fires, and it may get turned up 10 times hotter. God says right here in Isaiah those flames will not burn you. You will not be touched. I know there was a time in my life years ago that I really was going through a really difficult time, and a really great friend of mine, she's a writer and author for children's books, and I went and saw her, and we were just talking about the circumstances, and on the way home, God gave me this incredible vision, and it was he and I. It's kind of like a daydream. I was driving, I can remember, and it was like he and I were on a horse in a field, an open field, and we were in a full out run with this horse, and Jesus is riding this, driving the horse, and I'm behind him, and I can remember just the painful circumstance, and the one thing he said to me was to lean into the pain. That was so profound for me, because the picture was just to lean into him. Whenever the flames get so intense, lean into God. And it was like I could feel those flames beside me. It was like we were in an open field, and we were just running in a dead gallop, like I said, and I could feel the heat, I could see the fire, I could feel that heat on my back, on my legs, and God said, just lean into me. And so I just took this picture of hanging on to God and Jesus, and just burying my head into the back of him. And maybe sometimes you'll see it on a Western or something, like a cowboy will come and catch a damsel in distress, and he'll rescue her, and she jumps on, and they ride away in the sunset. It was kind of like that picture, and I just buried my head, I can remember, and we went across that field, feeling every bit of the fire. I didn't say I couldn't feel the heat. I knew it was there. I could see it was there. I could even feel the pain of it being there. But I was never affected by it in the sense that it destroyed me. Jesus said, just hang on to me, lean into that pain, and let me help you get out of this. So today I want to encourage you. Maybe you're going through a really, really hard struggle. I don't know what you're going through. And I want you to just take that little set of words and just say, lean into the pain, knowing that the fire will not overtake you. Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego, they were not overtaken by their flames either. If you're a follower of Christ and a believer, he has you secure in the palm of his hand, no matter what the circumstance. So be blessed today. Be encouraged that this too shall pass. Every circumstance has a reason. God did not promise us a comfortable, cushy life. He promised us, though, that he would go through it with us. So I just want to encourage somebody today that might be struggling, that might be in the fire of affliction, that might just feel like you're being overtaken. Lean into the pain, lean into the back of Jesus, and ride through that field as fast as you can, because he's going to get you through it. Have a blessed Tuesday. We'll hope to see you all back here tomorrow on Morning Light and Wednesday morning. Bye-bye.